When detectives told Henry Segura that his 3-year-old son was dead, he laughed, not out of shock, not out of grief. He laughed the way a man laughs when he already knows the punchline. This is the case that took 9 years, 2 trials, and 1 recorded phone call to close. And by the end of it, Henry Segura's own words put him exactly where he deserved to be. Saturday, November 20th, 2010, Tallahassee, Florida. A phone call comes in that morning. A concerned friend has not been able to reach Brandi Peters since the night before. Dispatch sends officers to 908 Saddle Creek Run for a standard welfare check. Nothing alarming on the surface, just a knock on a door. Officers pull up to a quiet residential street on the east side of Tallahassee. The house looks completely ordinary from the outside. The porch light is still on. No visible signs of disturbance. They walk up the driveway, knock firmly on the front door, and announce their presence. No answer. They knock again. Silence. The door is unlocked. The officers push it open and step inside. What they find stops them cold. The interior of the home is in complete disarray. Furniture overturned. Items smashed and scattered across every room. To a trained officer, that kind of disorder communicates one thing instantly. Something catastrophic happened inside this house. They move further in, and then they see her. Her name is Brandi Peters, 27 years old, a young mother who lived on that quiet Tallahassee street with her 3 children. Neighbors described her as warm and present, the kind of woman who kept her door open for the people she trusted. She worked to hold her household together, and to anyone who knew her, she was the center of that home. Brandi had 3 children living under that roof. Twin girls, Tamaya and Tania Peters, 6 years old, and a 3-year-old boy named Javvante Segura. The twins had just started 1st grade. Javvante was at that age where everything is still new, still learning the world around him, still growing into it. Officers find Brandi near the front of the home. She is gone. They then locate the 3 children. They are gone too. 4 people, 1 house, 1 Friday night in Tallahassee. Investigators arrive and begin taking the scene apart layer by layer. The first thing they confirm is what did not happen. There is no forced entry anywhere on the property. Every window is intact. Every exterior lock is undamaged. Whoever walked through that front door, Brandi opened it for them. She let them in willingly. She recognized the face standing on the other side of that door. Inside the master bedroom, the evidence trail begins. It moves from the back of the house toward the front door. A path that tells the story of a woman who refused to stop fighting. Brandi Peters had been shot multiple times, but between the first shot and the last, she moved. She kept moving, toward the exit, toward help. A broken fingernail is recovered at the scene. More critically, foreign biological material is collected from beneath Brandi's fingernails. In her final moments, she scratched her attacker. She dug in hard enough and deep enough to trap their DNA under her nails. That DNA would become the single most important piece of physical evidence this entire case would ever produce. One additional detail removes all doubt about the nature of this crime. The telephone cord in the master bedroom had been ripped clean out of the wall, deliberately. Someone pulled it to make sure no call could be made from inside that room. That does not happen by accident. That is calculation. Investigators now have 3 facts locked in. The crime was targeted. Brandi knew her killer. It was premeditated. The telephone cord confirms intent. and the attacker left biological evidence behind. The question is no longer what happened inside 908 Saddle Creek Run. The question is who. Before we go any further, drop your city or state in the comments right now. Every single comment tells YouTube's algorithm this story deserves to be seen. And the more people who see it, the more people will know the names Brandi, Tamaya, Tania, and Javvante. Subscribe, because we do not let cases like this disappear. Detectives begin working Brandi's background, pulling her relationships, her history, everyone who had regular access to that house. One name surfaces quickly: James Carlos Santos, a Tallahassee man with a documented criminal record, currently sitting in a federal prison. Santos had been in a prior relationship with Brandi, and when investigators go through the home, they find something that immediately draws their attention: letters, written by Santos to Brandi from behind bars. One envelope has 4 words written across the front: death before dishonor. A second letter refers to Brandi's children as his little angels. The tone is possessive, the writing of a man who believed distance hadn't changed what he was owed. Then, Santos reaches out to investigators himself. He initiates contact. He says he wants to talk. And what he says next redirects the entire investigation. Santos claims he ordered the hit. He tells detectives that Brandi had been stealing cocaine and cash from the Los Zetas cartel, one of the most dangerous criminal organizations running operations across the US-Mexico border. According to Santos, the cartel found out, and the Los Zetas were known for how they responded to that kind of betrayal. They did not target individuals. They eliminated entire households. Investigators take it seriously. The coordination visible at the crime scene was not consistent with something impulsive. A spade shovel recovered near the property's perimeter matched a known cartel signaling method. The theory begins gaining real weight. Then the DNA recovered from beneath Brandi's fingernails comes back with a result that nobody in that room is prepared for. The profile links to a man living in Rome, Italy. The FBI moves immediately. Agents travel to the US Embassy in Rome, locate the individual, and bring him in for questioning. A fresh DNA sample is collected. The full comparison is run. Not a match. With the Rome lead collapsed, investigators redirect their attention to Santos himself. A forensic psychiatrist is brought in for a full evaluation. The conclusion leaves no room for interpretation. Santos is a delusional, pathological liar with a documented history of falsely inserting himself into serious criminal cases to build his reputation inside the prison system. There are no real cartel ties. No real connection to what happened at 908 Saddle Creek Run. The letters, the confession, the entire performance, constructed. Santos wanted to be feared. He wanted to matter. He wanted power that he never actually had. Every day spent chasing that theory was a day the real killer had to breathe easy. The cartel was a ghost. The international manhunt, a dead end. Weeks of work gone, and the killer had been right there the entire time, not hiding across an ocean, not locked behind bars. He was sitting inside a Tallahassee police station, and he was laughing. Detectives are back at square one. The international theory is dead. Weeks of investigation dissolved into nothing, but the evidence inside that house never changed. No forced entry, a ripped telephone cord, foreign DNA under Brandi's fingernails, someone she trusted, someone with access, someone close. They go back to the beginning. They pull every name connected to Brandi Peters. Friends, family, former relationships, anyone who had walked through that front door. And one name keeps sitting at the top of the list. Not because investigators put it there, because the facts kept pulling it back up. Henry Segura, 30 years old, Tallahassee local. He was the biological father of 3-year-old Javvante, Brandi's youngest child. On the surface, Henry looked like a man with his life reasonably together. Steady income, a home, a wife. A woman named Malika who had been with him for years and had no idea what he was running on the side. What investigators begin uncovering is a completely different picture. Henry Segura was not just in a relationship with Brandi. He was simultaneously managing relationships with at least 4 other women, all while being legally married to Malika. Brandi was one of several. Javvante was a child Malika did not know existed. Henry had constructed 2 entirely separate lives and kept them from colliding for years. But by November 2010, that construction was days away from falling apart completely. Florida's family court system had caught up with him. Brandi had filed for child support, and the courts had been tracking the debt for months. By the time of the murders, Henry Segura owed $19,000, nearly $20,000, in unpaid child support directly to Brandi Peters. The state had already begun moving toward a wage garnishment order. That meant his employer would be formally notified. A deduction would begin appearing on his paychecks. And the moment Malika saw that garnishment, every secret Henry had spent years protecting would surface at once. Brandi was not waiting quietly anymore. She had made her position clear to Henry. Pay what you owe, or she would go to Malika herself. Pay what you owe, or she would pursue him through the courts until he was held in contempt and jailed. Henry was cornered, but investigators would later uncover one detail about this case that makes the full weight of his motive impossible to ignore. Under Florida law, a child support debt does not die with the mother. If Brandi Peters were gone, the obligation would transfer to Javvante's legal guardian or directly to the state. The debt would survive. The only way for that financial liability to disappear entirely was for Javvante to be gone too. Tamaya and Tania were in that house. They were old enough to remember, old enough to one day identify a face. Henry Segura is brought in for a standard background interview. Detectives want to talk to everyone connected to the family. Routine, they tell him, just filling in the picture. He arrives without a lawyer. He sits down relaxed. His body language reads as completely unbothered. Then Detective Mark Lewis begins walking him through the crime scene, describing what officers found inside 908 Saddle Creek Run, describing Javvante. And as Lewis speaks, something happens that neither detective in that room expects. Henry Segura smiles. Then he laughs. Not the broken, involuntary response of a man receiving devastating news about someone he loved. A relaxed, easy laugh. Casual. Like a man sitting across from a friend and not a detective investigating the deaths of 4 people, one of them his own child. The detectives keep their expressions flat. They continue. Henry gives them his alibi without hesitation. He tells them he had not been to Brandi's home in 2 days before the murders. He was home all Friday night. Malika can confirm it, he says. Their home security system chimes every time any exterior door opens. She was sick that night and barely left the bedroom. She heard nothing unusual. Then Henry does something that surprises even veteran investigators. He volunteers his primary cell phone records on the spot. No request, no warrant. He hands them over himself. GPS data showing his primary device inside his own residence for the entire duration of Friday night into Saturday morning. He even agrees to provide a DNA sample. No lawyer present, no hesitation. He leaves the building smiling. The detectives do not. Do you think Henry actually believed he had walked out of that room clean? Drop your answer in the comments right now. I read every single one. And while you're there, hit subscribe, because what happens next in this case, nobody saw coming. Investigators pull every financial record connected to Henry Segura. Bank statements, court filings, the wage garnishment documentation. The full picture of his double life gets mapped out in detail. 5 women, 1 wife, 1 child his wife did not know about, and a court order that was days away from making all of it visible. His employer would have been notified within the week. The deduction would have appeared on the next paycheck cycle. Henry had no clean exit from what was coming. No negotiation left, no delay he could buy. Brandi had stopped accepting anything less than what the court had already ordered. Then, a digital forensics analyst working through secondary account records finds something Henry never disclosed. A second cell phone. Registered under a separate account. Never mentioned to investigators. Never handed over. Henry had kept it completely off the radar, a device he believed was untraceable and invisible to anyone running his name through their systems. 10 days after the first interview, detectives call Henry back in. He comes without a lawyer, again. He sits down with the same relaxed energy as before. Detective Lewis opens the conversation calmly. He confirms Henry's primary number. He lets the silence settle. Then he reaches into a folder and places the secondary phone's billing records on the table. Then he sets down a GPS tracking map directly next to them. Henry's expression changes. The map documents the movement of the secret phone on the night of November 19th into the early hours of November 20th, 2010. While his primary device stayed stationary inside his neighborhood, the burner phone activated. It left his area. It moved through Tallahassee along a specific route, and its final logged location before going dark is 908 Saddle Creek Run, during the exact window when Brandi, Tamaya, Tania, and Javvante were killed. His alibi doesn't crack. It evaporates. Henry does not confess. Instead, he starts talking, and he cannot stop. Across that single interview, investigators document 23 separate false statements. Someone borrowed his phone. He visited earlier that day and forgot to mention it. He drove past the neighborhood but never stopped. He left before anything happened. Each explanation is offered and then replaced by the next one the moment a follow-up question exposes the gap. Detective Lewis asks Henry to place both hands on the table. Fresh cuts across his knuckles, deep scratches running down his forearms, injuries entirely consistent with a violent physical struggle. Brandi Peters had fought her attacker. She had scratched and clawed hard enough to leave biological material under her nails. The wounds on Henry Segura's hands and arms are a direct physical record of that fight. Henry agrees to let them photograph the injuries. His hands are unsteady. A grand jury convenes. The indictment comes down. 4 counts of first-degree, premeditated murder. Investigators move to bring Henry in. He is already gone. He has left Florida entirely. Tracking puts him hundreds of miles north, LeSueur County, Minnesota. He changed his contact numbers, cut communication, and was attempting to build enough distance to disappear. A specialized fugitive task force traces his digital footprint across state lines and arrests him in Minnesota. From a cell in LeSueur County, Henry Segura makes one phone call. He dials Malika. Detectives are recording. Malika does not ask if he is innocent. She does not ask what happened. She erupts, screaming about the other women, the years she spent loyal to a man running 5 relationships behind her back, the life she believed she had that turned out to be a constructed lie. Henry does not say he was framed. He does not say he did not do it. He says, "It is looking like I gave up my life for you too." Recorded, logged, admissible. The state had the motive, the phone data, the documented lies, the physical injuries, and now, those words, spoken by Henry Segura himself from a jail cell in Minnesota. By every measure, this should have been a straightforward case. The evidence was there. The timeline was locked. The phone data didn't lie. But Henry Segura had one move left that nobody in that building anticipated, and it came closer to working than anyone wants to admit. July 31st, 2017. Nearly 7 years after the murders at 908 Saddle Creek Run, Henry Segura finally sits inside a Tallahassee courtroom facing trial. 7 years. That is how long Brandi Peters' family had been waiting for this moment. 7 years of hearings, delays, legal motions, and postponements. 7 years of walking into courtrooms and walking back out without a verdict. And now, the moment the state of Florida had been building toward was finally here. The prosecution comes in with a structured, layered case. They walk the jury through the burner phone GPS data, the second device that Henry never disclosed, the one that traced a direct route to 908 Saddle Creek Run on the night of the murders. They present the 23 documented false statements from his second interrogation. They introduce the $20,000 child support debt and the wage garnishment order that was days from being enforced. They play the recorded prison phone call, Henry's own voice, his own words, from a jail cell in Minnesota. The motive, the movement, the lies, and the behavior, all of it, placed in front of 12 jurors. The defense has one answer to all of it: the DNA. The biological material recovered from beneath Brandi's fingernails, the sample she fought to leave behind in her final moments, had gone through laboratory analysis, and the result created a problem for the prosecution that the defense was not going to let the jury forget. The sample was mixed, degraded. The lab could not produce a clean, definitive genetic profile linking it conclusively to Henry Segura. Without that direct biological confirmation, the defense argued the case was entirely circumstantial. Phone data can be manipulated. Timelines can be misread. Reasonable doubt, they told the jury, was already sitting in that evidence. Defense attorneys pushed a secondary argument that a coordinated group, not a single individual, was responsible for what happened inside that house. That the level of organization visible at the scene pointed away from one person acting alone. The jury is made up of 8 women and 4 men. They begin deliberations and do not come back quickly. Hours pass, then more hours. The deliberations stretch across 19 hours total. On August 16, 2017, Judge James Hankinson receives word that the jury cannot reach a unanimous decision. He declares a mistrial. Henry Segura is walked back to his cell, not convicted, not free. Brandi's family sits outside that courtroom, having waited 7 years for a verdict that did not come. The state of Florida announces immediately they are going again. A retrial will be scheduled. This is not over. 2 years later, November 4th, 2019, the retrial begins. 9 years after the murders. 9 years since officers walked through that front door on Saddle Creek Run. Defense attorney Nathan Prince makes a decision that signals exactly how limited his options actually are. He decides to resurrect the same theory that investigators had already dismantled years earlier. He calls James Carlos Santos to the witness stand. Santos walks into that courtroom in chains. He carries himself like a man who has been waiting for this stage. He sits down and tells the jury with complete confidence that he orchestrated everything, that he ordered the hit on Brandi Peters, that the people responsible were connected to a cartel operation that Brandi had crossed. Prosecutor Sarah Dugan lets him finish. Then she stands up and walks to the podium. She does not challenge his cartel connections. She does not argue the broader theory. She starts with the simplest questions she can ask. How tall was Brandi Peters? Santos pauses. How old was she? What did she look like? He cannot answer. He gives wrong information. He hesitates on details that any person who had genuinely targeted this woman would have confirmed before ever ordering anything. The man sitting on that witness stand, the one claiming to have coordinated the deliberate targeting of a specific individual, cannot describe her in any accurate terms whatsoever. The jury is watching every second of it. Santos does not crumble dramatically. It is worse than that. He simply fails, quietly, visibly, completely, under the most basic line of questioning possible. By the time Sarah Dugan finishes, the defense's central alternative theory has collapsed not from a prosecutor's argument, but from the witness's own inability to hold his story together under minimal pressure. With Santos destroyed on the stand, Nathan Prince has one card remaining. He puts Henry Segura on the witness stand. It is the most consequential decision of the entire trial. Defendants are not required to testify. Most attorneys in a case with this volume of evidence advise their clients against it. But Henry agrees. He believes he can walk into that box and do to 12 jurors what he spent years doing to the people in his personal life. Project control, manage the room, and walk out with the result he wants. He sits down and opens carefully. He acknowledges that he was not a faithful husband. He admits he lied to investigators. He frames those lies not as the behavior of a guilty man, but as the instinctive response of someone who felt vulnerable. He tells the jury that when he found himself in a small room with 2 armed white detectives, he panicked. He says fear drove his behavior, not guilt. His delivery is measured. His tone is calibrated. For a portion of his testimony, it works. Then Sarah Dugan stands up. She does not raise her voice. She does not perform. She takes Henry Segura through the financial records line by line. She walks him through the GPS data again, the route the burner phone traced, the timestamp at 9:08 Saddle Creek Run, the gap between where his primary phone stayed and where that second device traveled. She takes him through each of the 23 false statements and asks him to explain them one at a time. Henry's composure begins to shift. The measured tone tightens. His jaw sets. The easy confidence he carried into that box starts showing its edges. Then Judge Hankinson delivers a routine instruction, standard courtroom procedure. He asks Henry to allow the prosecutor to finish her question before responding. Henry Segura turns away from Sarah Dugan. He looks directly at the judge. And he says, "I'm a grown man." The courtroom goes silent. Not a sound, not a movement. For days, Sarah Dugan had been telling that jury who Henry Segura was. She had argued that he was a man who could not be challenged, a man who responded to pressure with aggression, a man who, when Brandi Peters pushed back against him, when she demanded accountability instead of accepting whatever he decided to offer, escalated to a point of no return. The jury did not have to take her word for it anymore. They watched it happen, unprompted, unscripted. In a courtroom full of witnesses, with nothing at stake except his own future. That single moment does more damage than any piece of evidence the prosecution presented across the entire trial. Jury deliberations in the retrial are significantly shorter than the first. The verdict comes back on November 20th, 2019, exactly 9 years, to the day, after officers walked into 908 Saddle Creek Run. The clerk stands. The room holds still. Count 1. Brandi Peters, guilty of first-degree murder. Count 2. Tamaya Peters, guilty of first-degree murder. Count 3. Tania Peters, guilty of first-degree murder. Count 4. Javvante Segura, guilty of first-degree murder. Brandi's family, sitting in that gallery after 9 years of courtrooms and continuances and a mistrial, finally has an answer. Henry stares straight ahead. The case moves into the penalty phase. Henry is eligible for the death penalty. And here, Nathan Prince makes a move that surprises the entire courtroom. He stands and asks the jury to sentence Henry Segura to death. It is not an act of surrender. It is a calculated legal strategy. Florida death sentences trigger automatic high-priority appellate review, a structured legal pathway that defense teams use to pursue conviction overturns at a higher court level. Henry signs off on it himself. He is willing to accept a death sentence if it gives him a legitimate route to challenge the verdict that just came down. The jury sees it clearly. They return a unanimous decision. Henry Segura should not be sentenced to death. By denying him the sentence he asked for, they closed the door on the strategy his defense had built around it. Judge Hankinson sentences Henry Segura to 4 consecutive life terms with no possibility of parole. In 2021, the 1st District Court of Appeal reviewed the case in full and unanimously upheld every conviction and every sentence. Henry Segura currently serves his sentence at Hardy Correctional Institution in Hardy County, Florida. He will not leave that facility. If this story moved you, share it. One share puts Brandi's name in front of someone who has never heard it. Subscribe, because we do not let cases like this go quiet. The algorithm only works if you do. Brandi Peters fought back with everything she had in her final moments. She left a mark on the person who came into her home that night, a mark that became evidence, that became a case, that became a conviction. Tamaya and Tania Peters were 6 years old. Javvante Segura was 3. They deserved more time. Brandi deserved more time. Henry Segura thought he was protecting his life. What he actually did was end it, one lie at a time.